Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this drive in the snow slash talk. The talking narration is being recorded at, well, it was recorded later at a different time because whenever I was driving from my house to Saijo in this quite heavy snow early in the morning, I really wanted to concentrate on the road. I didn't have my snow tires or chains, and there was a lot of traffic. Also, it it continued to snow for a while. It wasn't until later in the day that it cleared up and became much more manageable. On my way back home, it was no problem at all. Basically, everything that was a problem in the morning, or rather a challenge in the morning, was non existent in the evening. So it was all good. You might think that it was a little crazy of me to drive in that weather without having the proper tires, but there are a few reasons why. One is that I didn't realize that it was going to be like that in the morning. I thought it was going to be clear, and it wasn't until I went outside I realized that, oh crap, it's kind of heavy. So I decided at first I would drive out into the snow. Actually, before I even did that, I walked in the road just to see what it was like, and it seemed okay enough to test. And I was going to drive to the main road, but the main road is in much better condition. They throw salt on it, and it turns out much better than the road from my house to the main road, which is not far, but I just wanted to test it. If it was going to be a problem, then I would have gone back home. But I didn't slide or move around on the road. I was able to stop no problem and start no problem. Didn't have any steering issues. So I continued on. No big deal. I'm glad that I did, because ultimately I was able to get this video and share it with all of you. I thought it was kind of cool, especially early in the morning when it was still kind of dark before the sun came up. I think it looks pretty cool, don't you? Anyway, I had to stop the camera a couple of different times, but I got most of the drive from Toyosakacho all the way to Saijo, and you get to see various stages of the sunrise, from dark with lots of snow to a little lighter like dusk, and then sunrise. You get to see the sun. Just in this one video you'll see all of that. So it seemed to me that the sun rose pretty quick, but maybe it was part of that. Maybe part of that was because of the location, because where my house is situated, the sunrise time is incorrect. Whatever it says online, it's not the sunrise time where my house is, because the small little mountains right behind it, they block the sun. So that's why you still see snow in my yard, even when it's like 10 degrees Celsius outside. You'll still see snow back there for quite a while. It takes a while for it to melt. But anyway, a few days ago, I had to take another trip to Saijo, which is about a 30 to 40-minute drive, depending on where I'm going. And during that trip, I recorded myself talking about several different things. And one of those was about finding an Akiya, an empty house, an unoccupied house. A little bit of the process of going through that, why you would find one, where to look, resources you could use to find one, and things like that, including the ones that I used and how I found mine, and just some related information. And then I started talking a little about how I've spoken with a few different viewers who've contacted me. And of course, sometimes they're in the comment section, but occasionally they email me. And if you don't know this, my email is actually in my About Me page. So if you click on my main page, my main channel page, and then you click on About, you will see my email address right there. And if you want to email me directly for any reason, you can reach me there. But the email address is englishvirra@gmail.com. And I want to take this opportunity right quick because it just crossed my mind. A lot of people don't realize this. They wonder about the channel name, Engrish Virra. And there are a couple of reasons why. First of all, my family name is English. So I am Brandon English. That's my name. Okay? And if you translate my name into Japanese, it's Ingrishu. 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 So you can also say it kind of like English. So English and Engrishu, it's very similar. Of course, it's easier to say English than it is to say Engrishu. But if a Japanese speaker wants to say English, they're just going to say English, and other Japanese speakers will understand that when it's pronounced that way. It's just the way it is, okay? Don't try to read into it. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. Recently, I had one of my newer friends come over, and he visited he visited a couple different times, and he helped me a little bit with the floor in the kitchen. We pulled up some of the boards, and we looked underneath the floor and the doma, and we did a couple of other things. But he even told me that he didn't realize that was my name, and that it was connected to the channel name. But that's something I wanted to mention to you. I've seen a couple of people in the comments mention it because they think I'm being insensitive or I'm joking, making fun of Japanese pronunciation or something. Well, first of all, that is the Japanese pronunciation. That's how they say it. I'm not making fun. That's just fact. The second thing is, it's my name. It's my family name. So if you got a problem with that, then I don't know what to tell you. You'll just have to let it go. But that's the way it is. And villa in Japanese is vuira. Vuira. So English Virra. So English Virra is the easier way for everybody to understand it and what it means. So there you go. I'm actually just trying to connect the channel name to not only myself, but this place, and make it easy to say and understand for everybody. And it's the total opposite of what some people think. They think I'm just trying to make fun. And I'm not. That would be pointless and stupid. And I'm neither pointless nor stupid. So there we go. But anyway, back to the main point. If you want to email me for any reason, if you got questions, like some people have contacted me because they are planning to come to Japan, and for whatever reason they wanted to reach out to me either to ask some questions about some things that they might could do, or they want to come visit here, or they even have talked to me about staying here temporarily and just helping out and doing some stuff. All of those things are fine and no problem. But if you also have like you have a company and you want to pay me lots of money to do a sponsorship for you on my videos, absolutely. Well, I'm not to that point yet. I was happy to get over 500 subscribers, but I have to say that I don't know. I feel kind of sad because I feel like at this point in my channel, I should have already been over 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers. But unfortunately, last year when I was just about to really get started, and I was recording a lot of video. That was in May. I just to make a long story short, I had an apartment in the city, in Hiroshima City. And from there to this house, was quite a trip because I didn't have a van. I didn't have any way to drive. So I rode my bike for about 10 or 15 minutes to the train station in the city. And I jumped on the train and I took that to Saijo. And then from there, I jumped on the bus and I took the bus for about another 45 minutes to the very end of the line, the bus station here in Toyosakacho. And then from the bus station to this house is another 45 minutes, mostly uphill. And the total trip can take almost 3 hours one way. And so it was an effort to get out here. And because of the bus schedule, and the house wasn't really in good enough shape for me to just stay here. And initially, there was no electricity either. So it really was not conducive to staying the night or staying the weekend or anything like that. So I could only get here at the earliest maybe by about 10:30 to 11 o'clock on a Saturday. And then I had to get to the bus stop or bus station no later than about 5:30 because the last bus I think was like 5:50, 5:45, somewhere in there. So you can see that I couldn't really get a whole lot done. I could only come out for one day really. And but I was doing it for a while. I was coming out, every week, taking lots of video, looking around through stuff, going through things, getting junk out of the bedroom in there that was packed full of stuff. But it became harder and harder physically for me to get out to the house. And of course, after having severe pains in my abdomen, difficulty breathing, energy going down to nothing, and then I had some blood issues when I would go to the toilet. That was the last straw. So I went to the clinic. They referred me to the main hospital. They did some scans. And lo and behold, they found a large cancerous tumor on my right kidney, and it was also interfering with my arteries and stuff, and so it was causing anemia and edema. So when I wear socks for a few minutes, you can see the indentations on my legs. I could push my finger on my leg and then remove it, and the dent would still be in my leg. And I had these large kind of they look like bruises come up on my feet and on the sides of my ankles and stuff. That, it was just related to the blood flow and all of that. So I had all these side effects, not just the pain and the fatigue and all of that, but it just kind of shut me down. So my plans for this channel and for everything I wanted to do here, it came to a crawl. The good thing about the channel at that time was that because it stopped me from doing much of anything around June or so, I just started editing and posting all of the video content that I had. And unfortunately, it wasn't all in the correct chronological order. And I remember several of you, and if you're listening to this and you're a long timer from almost a year ago, you'll probably remember saying something to me about this, and I understand your pain. But my video files and everything, when I pulled them back out and I was trying to go through them, I got a new phone, which is a piece of junk, and I was trying to get my all of my old video files off my old phone. And when I started editing and posting everything, it wasn't in the proper order, and it was a little confusing. And some of my my loyal viewers posted comments saying, it would be nice if I put them in playlists or labeled them or whatever. And the only solution I knew to do at the time, since they were not in order, was to start putting them into folders by month and year. So like January 2022, February 2022, and so forth. So if you want to watch in chronological order, that's the best I can do, because if you try to watch them as one playlist, that's not really possible, because they will not be in order. Unfortunately, there's no way to rearrange them in YouTube. In the YouTube studio editor, I can't rearrange how they come up whenever you play them in a playlist. They just come up in the order that they were posted. So if there's a way to do that, I would love to figure it out. But it would be quite the task to go back and rearrange everything, because I'm not even sure of the dates anymore now. But anyway, it's close enough. I think that if you want to go back and you want to watch 1 month at a time, you can do it. And of course, if there's anything missing or if you have any questions along the way, you can let me know or you can ask me. I have no problem answering questions. I like to get questions, and I appreciate the engagement. I spend the vast majority of my time by myself. And even when I was teaching at the school, every, I was about to say every day, but 5 days a week when I was there, yeah, of course I was around the students and my colleagues and stuff. But when I would go home, I was almost always alone. In Hiroshima, teaching, I have really almost no money. Even when I'm working, I have almost no money. And when I'm teaching, I'm not doing what I want to do. I want to do other things. I want to renovate this house. I want to build my own business. I want to make movies. I like to make films and stuff. And that's another sucky thing, is that I can't even give the kind of quality for these videos that I really want to give. My Canon camera, which was kind of middle of the road. It was not a great camera, but it was much, much nicer than anything that you can shoot with. I mean, even a brand new phone camera is not going to be able to do what my Canon can do. And I had several lenses, but it just crapped out. It just stopped working last year. So I wasn't able to use it at all for anything. And my old phone camera, which is a OnePlus 6T, that's the brand. You probably don't know it. It's not as well known as some others, but it has a much, much better camera than my Samsung. And the Samsung is just a cheap one that they gave me from Docomo. I have to use it because it's 5G. It gives me the 5G unlimited data connection. But if I use my old phone, it only does 4G, and I can't get the unlimited data package. Of course, they have it set up that way to where you have to buy or get another phone. Anyway, back to the stuff last year. I stayed at home. I began to stay at home in December because I did the best I could from May until the end of the year to keep working and stay busy. But during a lot of that time, I wasn't able to go out to the house very much. And that's another thing. The expenses that I was incurring just by going out to the house, if I went out 4 times in a month, that would wind up costing me almost a couple $100. And when you're making just enough salary to basically cover your bills, and then you're constantly getting surprise bills like residence tax, yearly resident tax, and then I got a surprise bill about buying a house fee. And then when I got the van, buying a van fee. You get all these surprise fees, and then when you move, like when I left Saijo and moved to Hiroshima, I got about a $300 fee for breaking my lease. And then when I left Hiroshima to move here into the house at the beginning of the year, this year, I got another one, about close to $500 for cleaning the air conditioner and cleaning the apartment. Even though they told me that I had to clean the apartment myself, I did, but then they sent me a bill. And guess what? I can't pay it. So they'll just have to wait. I think I annoyed them because I said, you need to send me the receipt for the cleaning company, because they said they had to hire a professional cleaning company to clean the AC in the apartment. And I said, okay, I'm going to need to see that receipt, so send me a copy. I haven't heard from them yet. They haven't replied either. But I'm sorry. I'm not going to pay for something and throw money into someone else's pockets. And I feel like that's what happens there. I don't believe, because they knew that I cleaned the apartment. They told me I was supposed to, and I did. It was nice and clean when I left. I even mopped it. But if they're going to actually pay a company to go in there and do extra cleaning and AC cleaning, and they're going to make me pay for it, then it better be done. So send me the receipt. They haven't replied yet. Anyway, so that kind of gets us to where we are now. I'm not going to go into all the detail of my medical leave. All I'll say is that it's it's quite it's quite a stressful. It shouldn't be stressful to leave your work to try to recover from a health condition. It shouldn't be stressful. That's the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish by taking off of work. And there has been too much stress. It's primarily because of the way the finances are being handled. I haven't worked since the end of November, and I still haven't received one single yen in medical payment support, which I'm supposed to receive. And they told me I got different answers from everybody. My company, and they said also the insurance said the same thing, that it would take 2 months from the time I apply. And I can't apply. This is the funny part. I can't apply until basically a month after I'm off. So think about that. I finished work, or I took off work at the end of November. At the end of December, that's when I applied. But they didn't actually begin the paperwork processing until about January 6th or 7th. And then they said it could take 2 months from there. And here we are now, February 5th? Yep. Here right now it's February 5th. And that's only 1 month away. That's just 1 month away from when they said that the processing began. So it could be that I don't even see another or a single yen until another month from now. So a friend of mine pushed me to start a GoFundMe page, and I do have that up, and some people have donated to me, and that's great. I haven't made the video public on this channel, and I do put the link in the description, but I'm not pushing it. I just mention it. If you're interested, you can take a look in the description. But this video is not about that. I just want to show you what's going on behind the scenes, because that's not always obvious. But a big part of the reason why I can be here at the house, or the reason I am here at the house all the time right now, is because I am off of work. And no, I don't have permanent residency. A lot of these people I see on YouTube, or some of the people I meet, they have either a spouse, like a Japanese spouse, or they have some type of permanent residency or job or whatever that helps them to stay here. And I'm kind of in between that. I am dating somebody, but I'm not married to a Japanese national, so I don't have permanent residency. I don't, and if I don't have a job, then I either have to find another job very quickly to keep my visa status, or I have to pack up and get out of the country. Worst case scenario is that I would just have to exit and come back, and I wouldn't be able to work here. I mean, I could come back in and stay 90 days at a time and take care of the house and stuff, but I wouldn't be able to use my banking and stuff, and all of my my IDs and everything, and all of the stuff that I've taken all this time to build and get and acquire to build my life in Japan, a lot of these things will become very difficult. So technically, I'm still employed. That's why, even though I'm on medical leave, I still have to pay for health insurance and pension and that sort of thing, which is difficult when you're not getting paid. You're not making any money. So, like I said, it should be a stress-free situation, but it's not. And that's how all of that stands. And I think I'll stop there because that's probably enough detailed information so that you can hear the update of what's been going on with me here at the Virra. Okay, now I did want to lightly touch on a few key points for those of you who are not in Japan, or maybe you're fresh in Japan or whatever, and you're wanting to know a few things about either how I found my house or how you can find one. And I want to clear something up because I see some YouTubers posting these videos like, we got an abandoned house, we got an empty house. Well, which is it? I mean, if it was abandoned, obviously it's probably empty. But if it's an empty house, it doesn't mean that it's an abandoned house. These are different things. So I see some YouTube channels of people posting these interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. Now, in another video, when I was actually just a few days ago, I was shooting a video while I was doing some things here, some DIY stuff, and I mentioned the concept of that because my house was semi-abandoned, but not completely abandoned. It was definitely unoccupied for, oh, wow, about 25 years. And it shows. I mean, there have been a lot of improvements since I first got here, but it still shows. And in some ways, yeah, it was abandoned. I mean, the neglect in several different areas has caused a lot more damage that could have been avoided. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And for example, they continued to pay the property taxes. The family that owned this house, they kept up on the property taxes, and so that never got behind. And if this was a totally abandoned property, then that wouldn't be the case. Typically, a truly abandoned property will be something like you get through the tax assessor's office or something. It's been lost to the city office, and they're auctioning it off, trying to get money back on it. So essentially, if you buy a free, what's called a quote free house in Japan, it's not really free. It's never free because you still have to pay taxes on it, or fees and other things. And if you want to actually qualify for some particular subsidies, you have to jump through certain hoops or meet certain criteria in order to do that. For example, you might be required to make certain repairs, and you might even have to do those repairs within a certain amount of time. Of course, there might be a benefit of getting some money back for those repairs. So they might say, well, you have to fix these things within this amount of time, and once you do, and we check it out and we okay it, we'll pay you like 50% back. Just as an example. It's a little oversimplified, but that's kind of the way it could work. And another thing is, whenever you buy a house that has been completely abandoned and has taxes owed on it, yeah, it could be that the city says the house is too old, it's worthless, it's zero. And the land where it's located doesn't have a high value, but the back taxes on that land are owed, and that's what you're going to have to pay. So, can you get a free house in Japan? No, that's not possible. The house itself, free? Yeah, sure. But spend nothing and get a house with land? No, absolutely not. Can't do that. Even the most worthless land in Japan is still going to have some taxes to pay. And if the taxes are caught up like they were on my property, because I didn't have to pay any taxes on the land for last year or before that, because nothing was owed. The family had paid everything, like I said. However, I did have to pay a a couple $1,000s to the family for the property, and then I had to pay some sales tax on top of that, plus an acquiring a house tax and some other fees, the scrivener fee, the the selling agent fee, and just things like that. So the house itself was considered too old to be worth anything, which I find amazing. But so basically the $2,000 that I spent to buy it, that was for the land, according to the paperwork. Sorry, I keep yawning. It's almost 11 o'clock, and my sleeping schedule has been a little off recently. For some reason, I start to get sleepy a couple hours before midnight, which is fine, but I go to sleep and then I wake up at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I can't really go back to sleep until like 3 or 4. And then I wind up sleeping until after 10. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's how it went when I bought my house. But as far as how I found it, I just found it on the Akiya Bank website for Higashi Hiroshima. And I would, sorry. I mentioned this in my series. If you haven't seen my series on how to find and buy an Akiya and all of that, then go check it out, because it's got a lot of good information in it. I'm no authority, and I say that in the videos. There have been some negative naysayers who think they know everything, and came out directly talking about my videos in a very very not nice way. And somebody I consider to be a friend, basically, but after several private messages that were just rude, and then seeing videos specifically going against me and more rude comments in the video comment section, I just decided to leave that in the past and move on. But the reason I mention that is because if anyone tells you, well, this is the way it is, and it's only this way, or this is only the best way, then you don't listen to them. I won't tell you that, and nobody should tell you that. You should do what you feel in your gut is right for you. I can definitely share and express to you what my experience was and how I did things, and I can give you my opinion on what I think would be best for you to do. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to take information from all sources and then make your own decision. So with that in mind, I will summarize quickly a few key points if you're wanting to come to Japan and find an Akiya. And there are two main things that I think go together that are very important. And first of all, the most important step before you do anything is to decide, what do you want to use your house for? The Akiya or empty house that you find, what do you want to use it for? Are you going to live in it? Do you want to come to Japan and retire in it? Do you want to fix it up and turn it into a business? Do you want to just keep it as a holiday home to come to sometimes? Whatever you need to think about that, because whenever you go looking, you need to be able to find something that matches that vision that you have. And the second thing is, where do you want to be located? This is I've traveled around to a lot of places in Japan, and I didn't necessarily decide, oh, I want to go live in Hiroshima. I moved here out of necessity because I needed to work. Um, I'm not, like I said, I don't have the privilege of just saying, oh, I have a Japanese wife, so I can I can kind of take it easy and get whatever job and spend my time, you know, doing DIY here and there. Um, I don't have that ability. I wish. I mean, I still wouldn't be just frittering my time away. I'd still be doing stuff and I would be busy, but it would be so much easier, right? Um, so I don't know how you're coming to Japan, but if you're a single person and you don't have any job lined up here, then you're going to have to think about that. That's something that you're really going to have to think about. So, like I said, if you already know the type of home that you want to have, also the price range that you're able to spend, because I'm telling you, if you don't have any money to buy one and you're coming to Japan to do something like teach English and you don't have any residency, then you're not going to be able to really do much of anything, because you're not going to save up. Oh, I'm going to go to Japan and teach English for a few years and save up some money and then make a down payment and get a loan and buy one. No, you're not. You're not going to do any of those things, because first of all, I mean, you could come here and teach English, but as far as like saving money, putting down money and taking out a loan or whatever, no, you're not going to be able to do that. Very, very difficult for a foreigner to take out a loan for a house in Japan. If you have a long-term contract with pretty good salary, that's different, but not as an English teacher. And with a 1 year visa, no, definitely not. It's not even necessarily a guarantee that if you get married here, that you'll be able to get a loan, because it's, that they don't just give loans to everybody. Oh, you're Japanese, here, you can have a loan. It doesn't work that way. If you can, great. It can help you, but don't bank on that. And so you got to think about the amount of money that you're going to be able to spend on your house, the location where you want the house to be, and what you're going to use it for. If you're going to be teaching or working some other job, then I'd recommend trying to be in that area that you're really wanting to be in, that you're wanting to find your Akiya in. And then what you can do from there is spend some time looking. And I don't necessarily have a problem with people who pay agents to go looking for stuff, because there are some guys, especially around Tokyo. I know that there's a guy on YouTube, a Japanese realtor, who will go look around and find some Akiya for you to go look at, but you have to pay him maybe $500 or more, maybe $500 to $1,000 to go looking for some Akiya for you to consider. But whatever he finds in the area that you request, that's what he finds, and he'll present those for you. If you don't like any of those, but you want him to keep looking, you're going to have to pay him more, because you're paying for his time. That's one way to find one. If you have the money, it's definitely a big help. However, I didn't go that route. I just looked online, and I spent a lot of time going through many different websites. I looked at some of the real estate websites. I even looked at like the big one, like At Home. If you don't know that one, you just look up At Home. I think it's athome.jp. And you can find that they actually have some unoccupied houses listed there. Some newer and some older. And I found mine on the Higashi Hiroshima website, like I mentioned earlier. It wasn't registered with the Akiya Bank, but it was actually listed on their website. I don't know. I don't know if it was listed as a courtesy or what, but because it was not registered, then I don't get access to any of the subsidies that they offer for individuals buying Akiya. That was unfortunate, but that's the way it is. However, there are some subsidies that are available, such as earthquake inspection, that I am eligible for, and I hope to do that this year. It's going to be available in April. So I've got to get my documents, my house documents together and make copies and take them down to the Saijo office. And they will tell me when the guy will come out and inspect the house. So I can do that. Anyway, once you decide what kind of work you're going to do in Japan, in what area, what your price range is, and what you're going to use your Akiya for, or your house in Japan, then from there you can start to make plans about what your budget's going to be for repairs and renovation and your time frame, because I feel like renovating a house is similar to making a movie. You can do it on the cheap, or you can put a lot more money into it, and of course a lot of money could actually save you some time, because if you got a lot of money to throw into it, you can hire contractors and stuff. And that's another thing. How much DIY do you want to do? Um, Last year, before I I really got sick, I think maybe April, before I really went downhill, I had the city office come out and look around, and they gave me a quote for how much it would cost to hire their local people to come down here. They have basically some almost retirees, I think, that would come down and clean out the house, take out all the trash and the plastics and all the junk that I didn't want, and haul everything away for me. And I just had to just pay by the weight, and they gave me an estimate for that. But the combination of me getting, just worse with my health, and realizing that on a teacher's salary I couldn't be spending, one, two, or $3,000 on house cleanup. I was just going to have to bite the bullet and do it myself. I mean, as a teacher, you don't even make $2,000 before taxes. You don't even make $2,000 in a month. It's like I said, it's poverty wages. You'll hear me say that probably 1,000 times, but it's true. English teacher salary in Japan is poverty wages. So that's another thing to think about. If you're going to become a teacher here, the question is why. And if it's because you love teaching and you really want to teach English in Japan, great. If you just want to have the experience, then great. If you think that you're going to be able to use it as a way to save money and put some money into your house and renovate your house, well, that's not going to work. And one reason it's not going to work is because you're not going to make enough money to really do anything important. And the second thing is, it's going to take up a lot of your time. You're going to have to be at the school or at an Eikaiwa at least 5 days a week. And the minimal amount of time that you'll be able to devote to renovating your house is it's going to really hinder you. But if you're able to work a different job, if you speak Japanese and then you have a different job skill that is in demand in Japan, then that would be a much better option. Because even if you don't have a lot of time, you can still have more money to actually pay some crews to get things done. Because if you're teaching English, you're definitely not going to be able to do that. I paid $1,000 just to get a breaker box installed. Pretty ridiculous. I could have done it myself, but legally, I'm not supposed to. They have the breaker box on Amazon for like $60. I can get the box and the switches for under $100, and before the electricity was turned on, I could just go and unhook the old one and hook up the new one, and then have the electric company come out and turn it on, and all's good. Could have done that myself for less than $100 and a few hours of work, but I'm not legally supposed to do that. I'm forced to pay $1,000 to have an electrician come do it. Pretty silly, but that's the way it is. Um, so you need to think about the money that you want to spend. How much money do you have to spend? And if you don't have the money, how are you going to get it in the future? And these are things that you really need to think about in the beginning. I really recommend that you think about those things before you ever get started. We are at the 45-minute mark right now, and if I'm not mistaken, there's a little bit more left, but I don't want to go over the time and I have to go back and trim stuff out. If not, I'll just have to add extra, like B-roll footage or something. But I'm glad I did kind of tie those two things together. Finding uh, your house, why and where, and money involved, plus how to come to Japan, what kind of work will you be doing, what kind of money will you have to invest in your house, not just to buy, but long term renovations, how much time you want to spend renovating, and that sort of thing. But there's one other thing that one new listener or viewer, I guess you could say, mentioned, and I did want to throw that in here, and that is getting a vehicle in Japan. He asked a few questions about costs, like the shokan, which is like the vehicle inspection. It's a little bit different than the way it works in the U.S., but I don't know how it works in your home country. But basically, here, whenever you buy a car, it may or may not have a current inspection, and the inspection is required. The inspection basically is a detailed once over of the car. They go over many different points of the car to make sure everything meets standards. If anything doesn't meet the standards, then they have to be repaired. If they're not repaired, you don't get the inspection. So, the inspection, if you buy a used car or a new car, it's the same. You still have to get this shocken, this inspection. However, I'm not gonna talk about new cars. Let's focus on used cars because if you get first of all, the cost of used cars in Japan can be pretty low. You can find cars for like $500, but they might wind up costing 2,000 or $2,500 because of the inspection taxes and other fees that you'll have to pay. So you have to keep that in mind. So you can actually look online at car websites, and there are tons of cars. I'm telling you, if you come to Japan and you've got $5,000 in your pocket just for a car, if you're like, yeah, I'm going to get a car. Well, of course, you have the driving license issue to work out. Depending on what country or state you're from, the process can be a little different for you. But I'll save that for some other time. It's not something that I need to go into here. If you have a question about it, you can drop it in the comments, and I will be happy to answer it for you. But as far as the car itself, yes, there are many vehicles that you can buy, many used vehicles in Japan that are very low priced and reasonable. And some are white plates and some are yellow plates. So the license plate that you actually have on the car, they have different colors. They have mostly white and yellow. Sometimes you'll see like a black plate. It's like a business type license plate, but let's focus on the white and the yellow. The white plate, like my van, I have a Nissan Serena, and so it's a mid to kind of a mid to full size van. It's not a full size van, but it's like the biggest. a minivan, I guess you can mid-size van that you can get, and obviously not a small vehicle, so it has a white plate. The it also meets different safety standards, so it gets the white plate. The yellow plate is for what are called K cars. A K car is just the small car. So think of like a Suzuki Samurai or Jimny. These little small Suzukis and Daihatsus that you see buzzing around that look like little boxes. You know the like the cube maybe. I'm not sure. The cube might be big enough to be a white plate. I'm not sure. But anyway, these small cars are called K cars, and they are really good for commuting, but they have a limit on the amount of CCs, amount of horsepower, in order to qualify to be a K car and get the yellow plate. And if so, they have lower insurance and lower fees. So if you buy one of these used, it will be generally not necessarily cheaper for the sell price, but definitely cheaper in the fees, typically. Not cheaper in the inspection per se, because, like I said, the inspection, if you need an inspection, the price can vary. Maybe it costs $500, maybe it costs $800. Who knows? Who knows what needs to be done to get it up to inspection? So it could be that the inspection for the K car is $800, but there's a white plate car for sale that only has a few $100s worth of stuff that needs to be done. So that doesn't really have anything to do with the size of the car. But anyway, just to answer your questions in a short manner, it is definitely easy to find a cheap used car in Japan. And if you look really hard and you move quickly, you might even be able to find a used one that already has 1 or 2 years inspection still left on it, so you don't have to get any new inspection, and you might get a really good deal. Mine still had, I think, about 2 years left when I bought it on the inspection, which is great. And I paid about $1,500 total for the sell price. That was just the sell price. The actual purchase price didn't include the taxes and title and some other stuff. It didn't include the insurance. I opted to pay the insurance per month because there wasn't a big difference between monthly and paying it for the whole year at one time. But financially for me, it was hard to pay, basically $450 all at once for the whole year. So I just decided to do the monthly payment. And so, yeah, you can definitely get something decent for a really low price. I do believe those ridiculous K trucks, like the Hi-Jet and the Scrum, these two-seater farm trucks like you see, um, I believe that these vehicles are ridiculous. I mean, I know that they're handy, but the reason they're ridiculous is because they're always overpriced. It's very, very hard to get one at a good price. If somebody gets one at a good price, they got really, really lucky because they always sell for way too much. I saw one earlier today that was hilarious. It had been lowered and had rims on it and stuff. Hilarious. But these types of vehicles, like for me, I'm over 6 feet tall. Those are not comfortable for me. So I needed something bigger. Plus, I wanted something that I could sleep in if I needed to. And my van is perfect for that. Anyway, we're getting really close to an hour now, and I think this is probably close to the end. So, close to the end of the video, that is. I hope that this has addressed some important or related things, related topics, and that somehow it's been interesting and helpful, or one of the two at least. And of course, as always, if you have any questions about any of this related information, or even just about something pertaining to what's going on with me or, Japan, feel free to ask. Like I said, I like getting the interaction. I like questions. I don't mind getting them. Just let me know. And it's a little after 11 o'clock at night here. I think I'm going to try to settle down and get some sleep. Thank you for listening to me this whole time. If you listen to this whole thing, God bless you. You're a sweet, beautiful person. I love you. And I wish you nothing but the best. I wish all of you nothing but the best for all of us. And until next time, take it easy. Johnette.